So now, with the Joe Rogan charm, we head to the UK, the land of tea, crumpets, and an alarming foreboding. Those who think of the UK as only a land of polite cues and royal pageantry are misled. Joe shows how the country disintegrates faster than a biscuit dipped in hot tea. We'd better get into it.
You're seeing it now in England where people are getting arrested for tweets.
Yeah.
Well, England, people talk about Soviet Russia, like how bad Russia is in terms of cracking down on thought police and cracking down on bad tweets and things like that. I think the statistics are, I think England I think there's something like 4,000 people have been arrested in England for thought crimes where they've said things online that people find to be a hateful thing or a problematic thing. And I think it's only 200 in Russia.
Oh, wow.
The fact that they're comfortable with finding people who've said something that they disagree with and putting them in a fucking cage in England in 2024 is really wild.
So Joe goes on, blowing the viewers away. Thousands in the UK are confronted with arrest just for social network activity. Yep, that is not for punching someone, not for robbing some big bank. Nope, just for tweeting. Joe seems to wonder how far this could go. I mean, what is in these posts? These aren't some threats. Are they violent? Nope. Things like misgendering or having an anti-migrant opinion. The UK has pretty much decided that for them, free speech is optional.
There's this thing in England going on right now. I don't know if you know it, but London has, for the first time ever, passed the United States, passed New York City, rather, for the most murders.
Really?
Yeah, ever, since
They're
1800.
all just stabbing each other?
Stabbing each other. So the London mayor of London on Twitter, wrote a tweet that has been getting him tortured online, saying there is no reason to have a knife. If we catch you with a knife, you will be... we catch you, regular guy.
You regular guy.
Pocket knife. I open packages. I carry a knife. I want to cut a piece of rope. I have a knife on me. I said, okay, not anymore. No, in London, this guy's saying if you have a knife and you're caught with one, you'll be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
And in between, it is all about murder. London has now overtaken New York City with murders. Pause for a second and really think about it. The entire city with Big Ben and double-decker buses now has more stabbing problems than some slasher movie horror. Joe is thinking that he can't even grasp this one. To top it off, in another tweet from Mayor Sadiq Khan of London, carrying a knife is a no-go. Knives are bad, period, and you'll be arrested with even a pocket knife. Joe cannot believe how ridiculous it sounds and shakes his head at it.
They said you can't infringe on people's free speech because if you infringe on the speech of people that you disagree with, you're being a fucking hypocrite. The only solution to bad speech is better speech. We've always known that. But when they had the power over social media and these collective groups of people that all had the same ideology, and then that tribal mentality kicks in and you lose the perspective that you should have as an educated person that recognizes that everyone has to be able to talk and we have to figure out who's right. And you might be wrong. You might be wrong, and you might be clinging to this idea that you're right, and you're going to do the whole thing a terrible disservice.
This censorship deal is bugging Joe. He makes an unassailable point. What sort of society have you got if people cannot speak their minds? Spoiler alert, a bad one. Arresting people for their opinions? That's the kind of stuff you would expect from a book with a dystopic setting, not a modern democracy.
Like that free speech is not hate speech. That Tim Walz guy was actually saying that. Hate speech. Free speech does not include hate speech. Like, by whose fucking definition? Yours? A guy who thinks tampons should be in the boys' room?
Yeah.
Like when Trump started calling him Tampon Tim, that was like one of the...
That's crazy.
Of all his names, that's my all-time favorite.
What really gets him going, though, is the impact on ordinary people, such as teachers and parents, even teenagers. Imagine that you're a 16-year-old kid dragged to court for leaving a comment on TikTok considered a little spicy. As ridiculous as this seems, Joe says, it has much greater implications. When you are unable to speak your mind, how are you going to confront people? What are you going to fix if you can't point out the problem? Now that we are talking about problems, families are worth talking about. Joe paints scenes of parents sitting at their kitchen tables debating whether the UK is still a place they want to raise their kids. Rising costs, crumbling public services, and all-around uncertainty are causing people to question everything.
Think or say what you want.
People could deem it's racist if it's anti-migrant. You know, they have a migrant crisis over there in Europe. People can deem it, you know, anti-migrant and Islamophobic, and you can. There's a bunch of, you know, them that are threats. People threaten people online, which totally makes sense. So
Yeah.
you shouldn't be allowed to threaten people online. But when you get past that, if you have an opinion about something, something that's affecting the country that you live in, I think you should be able to express yourself. And I don't necessarily think that people should know that it's you. I don't think you should have to carry that around. Like, you should be able to express yourself and not have to be famous. I don't think there's a problem with that.
How can one ever negate the migration crisis when talking about the woes in the UK? Joe does not mince words here. It is an entirely broken system, he says. It is not just about the migrants themselves. It is about how the system is run. Or better, mismanaged, says Joe. Leadership seems to be in panic mode, reacting to problems rather than creating solutions. He then asked whether anyone in charge has a plan, or if they are making it up as they go. Spoilers, probably the latter. Now let us talk about what they call public services, or as Joe puts it, just the basics. Healthcare, emergencies, police, that sort of thing. The stuff that keeps the world running. Apparently now, nothing seems to be working as it should. Joe jokes that the UK seems to be playing for the highest game. How bad can it get? But here again, he will get serious. If people can't depend on such basics, what does that do to their trust in leadership? Spoiler, it wipes it out. And back to the knife ban. Joe thinks it is absurd. The mayor's tweet that seemed to argue there was no reason to have a knife has turned into a meme, and quite rightly so. That's like banning spoons because people might use them to eat too much. Amusingly, Joe now sarcastically points out that the knife ban has not solved the problem of stabbings. In fact, it has worsened the situation. Who would have thought?
Here's the thing, man. This is a new thing. This wasn't England 10 years ago. All right? This is a new thing. And it's a scary thing. It's a really scary thing. They arrested thousands of people for social media posts. Thousands.
That's crazy. Were they threatening people?
Well, this is what they're doing, man. First of all,
No, were the posts threatening?
No. They don't have to be. They don't have to be threatening.
What?
Yeah, they could be misgendering. There's a lot of things that you could get in
Why
trouble
be
for.
alive if you can't even think or say what you want?
People could deem it's racist if it's anti-migrant. You know, they have a migrant crisis over there in Europe.
An outright creepy thing Joe has mentioned is the culture of fear that settles in. People are scared to speak out, scared to speak their minds, just scared to ask questions. And why wouldn't they be? With arrests for social media posts, one starts to rethink every tweet, every Facebook comment, and even every meme shared. This is what Joe calls a slippery slope. When people are way too frightened to speak, solutions don't get found. The problems get ignored, and ignored problems somehow have a way of coming back with a vengeance.
You're getting your finances drained. They're sucking money out of you and not providing you good service. You have terrible leadership. You have corrupt leadership. You know, what they saw with Bill de Blasio, and I think they thought it was going to be better with Eric Adams, and this Kathy Hochul lady's out of her mind.
There is little question, according to Joe, about leadership or its absence. He slams elected officials for committing to great things, but producing absolutely nothing. It is mere talk without any action. The regular people are left to bear the consequences. Rising costs, failing systems, and a feeling of total chaos. It's all about adding up to one big black canvas. Joe muses about how much longer people are going to take this. When does that frustration turn into something larger? Protests? Exodus? Who knows? One certainty is that change is coming, and it doesn't matter if the leaders like it or not. Joe, meanwhile, portrays an end-of-the-road scenario for Britain. Sort itself out or remain on the path of censorship, division, and plain dysfunction. One thing is for sure. The fissures have begun to crack widely open and cannot be superficially glossed over. Joe's message is simple. Wake up. It could be free speech, public services, or leadership. In any case, the UK has to take a long, hard look at itself. For if it doesn't, a shadowy future would follow that not just appears uncertain, but gloomy, too.